What I have here today is citrus that I've been grafting in the last few months. Some are have been grafted as recently as a month or two ago, and others have, well, those were probably 6 to 8 months ago. I find that in my greenhouse that I can graft citrus year round, pretty much. It's doesn't seem to be anything that really limits what I can do in terms of timing for graft. I have them all gathered on the table here today just because I was cutting off um, the grafting tape and removing it. Sometimes scale or mealybugs can try to find their way onto the citrus and crawl under the grafting tape and kind of give themselves a nice little hiding spot and stunt the growth of the plant. So I do kind of like to get it off, and two reasons: just to get rid of those bugs that might be in there, and also to just give the graft some air so that it can heal up, scar over even better. I find that tends to be pretty useful. So I've been grafting citrus on various rootstocks, and it's not really a planned out sort of thing. It's just I get seeds or cuttings, and I just plant them and kind of keep them hanging around in my rootstock area. And when I get signs from friends, or if I happen to be pruning and I have some good looking signs that I can put on rootstocks, I'll just kind of look at my rootstock collection and see what's going to work in terms of sizes and um, what seems to be kind of growing at the moment. I find that it's better to try to find a rootstock that has some momentum. It looks like it's actively growing. Tends to push the science better. So what I have over here is these are some various cuttings that I've grafted on some yuzu rootstock. All these yuzu rootstocks are from a single yuzu fruit that I bought in an Asian grocery store, that I started growing the seeds a couple of years ago. And as you can see, I've done couple of different grafts. This one here is a cleft graft, and I've got another cleft graft over here. This is an owari, by the way. It's put out some pretty nice growth. And another owari here. And back here, I have a couple of others. These are a different type of graft. I did a whip and tongue graft, and this is a wakiwa, and this is a fukushu. These are more recent. These are probably about 3 to 4 months old, and they are taking pretty nicely. You see some pretty good growth coming out. Over here on the right is a couple of grafts on trifoliate. This is a trifoliate seed that I grew. It seems to be very slow growing. I've been growing this seed for a couple years, believe it or not. And this is a trifoliate that I just rooted. I put it in some medium and just got it to grow roots. And so I've grafted a Cara orange on this one, and this is another owari graft. One thing I've found, even though trifoliate is supposedly the gold standard of citrus rootstocks, I find they are actually quite slow, and the growth is very time consuming. These grafts, we're looking at a couple of years here. So the in terms of growing it out, and the grafts themselves are probably actually about 6 to 8 months old. So nothing's moving that fast over here with the trifoliates. Another experimental thing is I bought a Mineola Tangelo from the grocery store, and actually a few of them, and grew seeds. And this is what a typical rootstock looks like after a couple of years. It's about that size. It's got a, it's about this size, maybe a little over a quarter of an inch to 3/8 of an inch. I find that the Mineola tangelo seems to be a pretty good rootstock just for what I'm doing here. It pushes growth fairly well, and I haven't found any compatibility issues at all. This is a sumo, or otherwise known as a shiranui. Over here is a fukushu. It's a kumquat that I've grafted on to the Mineola. This is a caracara that I grafted on. That's a Washington navel back there. That's a more recent graft, so I still have it wrapped. It hasn't fused over yet, so I'll give that another couple months before I take that off. And another owari. Owari is looking pretty good on the Mineola. And in the back here, I have a couple of other grafts that I've done. These are two different cultivars. These are actually on a Schaub rough lemon rootstock, which is a more vigorous rootstock. I've done these grafts probably in winter of last year, so it's been about 6 months. This is an Ortonique Tangor, which has been growing fabulously. It's starting to put out some new growth as well. And this is a caracara on Schaub rough lemon. And so they grow really well, really fast. So I just wanted to just kind of give you a quick peek at what I've been doing with various citrus grafts and growing on a variety of different rootstocks. Thanks for watching.